Good day everyone and welcome to your Opinion Talk Show. My name is Wale Shekete. Nice to meet you all. This is our first show today and I just want to explain what your Opinion Talk Show is about. Now, this talk show is a program that addresses sociological topics such as racism, youth cultures, parenting and mass media, which has had and continues to have an impact on our society. Your Opinion Talk Show provides members of the public with the opportunity to voice their opinions on a vocal platform. Today we're discussing Islam in the UK, and I have brought some guests over who are related to that topic and are very, well, in some way, very opinionated people. First of all, I'm going to introduce Tommy Robinson, and he's coming all the way from Luton. Please give a round of applause for Mr. Robinson. Thank you very much. Next guest today is going to be Richard Shaw, and he's an economics student at Swansea University. He's also an entrepreneur. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And the last guest of today will be Imam Javed, coming from the Swansea Mosque to join us today. Thank you very much for coming, sir. Thank you very much for coming, sir. And today, the first question that we will be discussing is, to what extent should the UK change to tolerate Islam's presence? Now, this is a question that has been going around on social media for a while now, so I think it's about time we bring it to this talk show and discuss that question. Would anyone like to add to that?
I'll be happy to start.
Oh, sure.
I don't think the UK should change to accommodate Islam. I think that Muslims coming here or being born here should accept freedom and democracy, which we have, and any aspects of Sharia should be left at the door when they come into the country. And they should realise that they have their freedom to exercise their religion, but when it comes to Sharia law or any aspects of that, then it should not be practised in this country or tolerated in this country. And we see too many times now that it's us having to change, us having to integrate, us having to appease all the time. And I think it's about time Muslims changed the way that they're acting in this country.
I don't know if you want to go.
Obviously, what Tommy just have mentioned, I just want to elucidate and share some information with you. First of all, it's very important that we get to know the word Islam, what does it actually mean, basically.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, people have this misconception in terms of the terminology of Islam. You heard Islam, but what Islam means. And I'm sure you probably studied and you heard in many shows or many lectures the word Islam. What does it mean?
Yes.
Now, it's actually an Arabic word which means, or translated, peace.
No, submission. Yeah.
Submission.
No, that's not submission. Basically. Submission is very different to peace.
Exactly. But when we say Assalamu alaikum, when we greet each other, basically, we're actually sending a peace to someone else. Now, within God himself, he's got so many attributes. And one of the attributes of God is salam, which means he sent peace, or basically he gives submissions to his creation.
Well, sorry.
Sorry.
The two words are very, very different at different ends of the scale. Peace and submit, because submit is another word for surrender. Mm-hmm. So Islam means surrender to Allah. Surrender to Allah. That's it. That's a terminology which is completely different to peace.
To peace. Yeah. Fantastic to me. And what I've noticed living in the UK, this peace wording that I'm taking, the only reason is because I want to translate in a different manner, basically. I've seen that value or that core practice within the British society.
Yeah.
So similarly to what Islam has got, the British society or Britain has got the same core practice of Islam, which is peace, and give peace to whoever is here within the country, basically. Now, if you do the research, the Muslim community here in the UK, over 2 million, nearly 3 million, which makes the second largest practice in religion in the whole UK. I've travelled the world quite a lot, basically. I've been granted, this privilege by God. I've travelled the world quite a lot. And I gotta say, even some Muslim countries don't give you the freedom to practice your own religion the way that Britain and the UK has done to the Muslim. Indeed, I don't think that the UK should be stopping the Muslim practice in the religion, but I agree with Tommy. I respect the British law for what they have done for us. Up to now, they've given us so much freedom in terms of wherever you go, just go and practice your religion. One thing, but don't change the laws that we have given you, basically. And which I totally agree. There is no need of bringing Sharia law into the UK because this country does not belong to us, basically. Yeah. And as I am here, I should be abiding by the laws and regulations of this country, not bringing my own laws and regulations. Similarly, that if I go to another country, for example, if I go to America, it doesn't mean that my Islam Sharia says this is the law, so you have to follow this law. No, I have to abide by the law of the American countries and the citizens. So again, I feel very honored and privileged that the UK and the British people have actually tolerated us so much up to now. And up to now, they never ever had let us down in terms of anything, basically. And that is a big positive point to show that even the British core or the British people have got this core practicing within themselves, that they will like to give peace to other people, which Islam teaches how to give to other people. So.
All right. Just a question to you. The UK has changed over the past years to tolerate Islam. And would you say there was no need at all for the UK to change in any way to tolerate Islam then?
They haven't changed.
I'm trying to understand. Are you opposed to Sharia tribunals, Sharia courts?
Obviously,
which we have 100 operating.
We've got a lot.
There's one in Cardiff.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I don't know if there's one.
There's a lot of Sharia tribunals, Sharia courts. Now, one thing I've learned from that is, even though it's called a Sharia court or Sharia tribunals, basically, but I've learned through speaking to different individuals that they try their best to match the same kind of laws and regulations what the English law, the British law say, basically, rather than just going one direction. Yes, indeed, there is another aspect of terms of the Sharia, basically.
But what I mean is, because as you said, we don't need Sharia law. So are you opposed to Sharia tribunals? Because in these Sharia tribunals and courts, you have women getting 50% less than a man in inheritance. You have a mother losing her son. As soon as a child gets to the age of 7, the dad automatically gets custody, right? That's under Sharia law.
Yeah.
This is Britain.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just trying to understand, when you say you're against Sharia law, because to be honest, I didn't know we was going to be talking today. I was expecting that Ahmadiyya Muslim. So it's literally 10 minutes ago. So I haven't had a chance to research or find out anything about yourself to find out where you're coming from. But when I hear you say we're done with Sharia law, I think that's great. But does that mean you're opposed to Sharia tribunals?
Yes.
Yeah, Sharia. Yeah, fair play.
Okay. But can I make a point? I mean, Judaism in this country has had Beth Dins operating for decades, and I mean, we've never ever had an issue. We've never had a backlash against them.
I haven't seen an undercover documentary which shown them telling women who have been beaten up by their husbands to go back to the violent husband.
To be fair, I mean, I was going to make this point. There has been many documented cases of people, of women being unfairly disadvantaged by these courts as well.
What, the Jewish courts?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
In that case, then I actually think what we're agreeing here is then religious courts in general just do not work.
There's no need for them. We have a British court system which we've had for a long time. There's no need for these religious courts. And when we're talking about the rights that Muslims have been given in this country, and because this Ahmadiyya Muslim that I was hoping to talk to, they have no rights in Saudi Arabia. They're not allowed to go to Saudi Arabia. They're persecuted in Pakistan. They're killed. In fact, they're persecuted. When I looked a lot into this sect. Would you, because then obviously within Britain we have so many different sects. It's such a complex issue, Islam, because it means so many different things to so many different people. Would you say that Ahmadiyya? Would you say they're Muslim?
To be a Muslim, obviously, you need to have the core practices and beliefs to be in Islam, which probably you will know from the research that you have done. If you believe in the oneness of God, if you believe in the finality of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, if you believe in all the prophets that were sent by God as a messenger of God, if you believe in the angels, the books, and the day of resurrection, you're a Muslim. Regardless if you're Ahmadiyya, regardless you're Sunni, regardless you're Salafi, regardless you're Hanafi, regardless you're Shia, if you have those core practice, according to my book, you're Muslim.
So Ahmadiyya are Muslims?
If the core belief is that they believe on those 5 things.
But they don't. They have a difference of opinion on those 5 things. The point, because when we talk about minority
those 5
rights,
things are not being made by man-made. Those 5 things come directly divine from God himself, basically. Yeah. So if it's been man-made, then that means you can change your religion wherever you want to do, basically. those 5 things, or those core principles in which a Muslim should be believing, it comes directly from God himself, divinely. Now, when God has said, if you really want to be a true Muslim, then this is what you need to have.
But because they're born Muslim and they say they're Muslim, they follow the Quran, but then other Muslims, I'm sorry if I seem like I'm grilling you, it's because I don't know you and I don't know who you are or what sect you're from, so I'm trying to push your views on these issues and whether you recognise that Ahmadiyya are Muslim. Because most imams I meet, when I say, are they Muslim, they say, no, they're not. And I say, so, and then when I look at research, for example, on the building of mosques, and you have an application for a mosque in Birmingham and there's 640 people sign a petition against it, 600 of them are Muslim. So then it's Muslims opposing other sects of Islam building a mosque because they don't recognise that they're Muslim. So, and these are issues because
the only reason probably you're facing those difficulties that other community are not recognizing as a Muslim, because probably they don't surround themselves on those beliefs. Do they have those beliefs?
No, they don't believe. They don't believe.
Okay. So bring it back from a theological point of view. We bring it back more to the UK. I mean, in that case, are we arguing then that the reason and one of the big barricades to Islam integrating and assimilating in the UK is actually many Muslims, not Islam, but Muslims themselves, the individuals who form the religion themselves, actually conflicting and stopping each other from working together as one organization, as one institute, to say, look, let's put aside our differences, let's believe let's believe we all believe in the same principles, we all believe in the same core tenets. Let us now open our doors and allow British people to see what we believe, and British people to come in and enjoy our culture, our customs, our religion, and see it for what it is, and not for all the infighting.
That's the problem. But when you say, because the reason why I'm pushing this is because when we're on about minorities and British Muslims in Britain, they've got more freedom to practice their religion than anywhere else in the world, probably. But when we look at other minorities in Islamic countries, we see no freedom for them. We see no freedom for Christianity. That you can't in Saudi Arabia. I look at what's happening to Christians in Nigeria, and this is why there's an uproar and there's a feeling amongst British people who are, when you can sit and say Islam is peace, what we're seeing worldwide, we're seeing a whole state in Syria and Iraq, and we're talking about is Islam working in the UK? You've got 4 times as many Muslims have gone to fight for ISIS than have joined the British Army. We've got a problem in the UK. You've got a country the size of Indonesia which has hundreds of millions of Muslims and only 30 of them have joined ISIS. We've had thousands.
We're actually going to go into that point in one of our later questions, so let's not touch it now. Just to conclude, so are we all agreeing that the UK does not have to change to tolerate Islam at all?
Unfortunately, it is changing and it has changed. Unfortunately, every single major institution you go into, you will eat halal meat. That's changed. And that's not giving any Sikhs or Hindus or anyone else a choice. There's no choice. Everything's changing in this country to suit Islam. That's the reality of it. Everything's changing. And it is us that's having to change. And we have kosher meat, yes, but I'm not eating kosher meat in my local restaurant, but I'm eating halal meat. And there's many different issues where we shouldn't have to change. Our country shouldn't change. We should stand for what we stand for, our culture, our identity. We can welcome Muslims and you're free to practice your religion all you want. We just don't want it enforced on us.
But actually, I want to argue about that point, just on a kosher halal issue. Perhaps the fact that we're seeing kosher stores in very Jewish populated areas, and halal spreading across the country, suggests maybe that actually the Muslim population is actually more spread across the UK.
30% of the meat in this country is now halal. 30%. Only 4% of the country are Muslims. So we are a bit. Supermarkets are not labelling it. The certification money, certain percentages, if you look at where it's drained off to, it's actually funding terrorism, extremism in many points. Halal. If the whole country goes halal, the only people who are allowed to prepare that meat are Muslims. We're creating a whole industry that is separating anyone else from working there, and that's growing. We've had massive abattoirs every single day they're opening, and that's the problem. And the question was, are we accommodating them? Or that's the reality. The reality is we're changing for Islam.
Would you say that change, in your opinion, would you say the change is more negative than positive? Is it more forced on the UK to change, or are we doing it by way?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily even. Maybe a lot of it's financial with the businesses, just thinking, let's go halal, because we know everyone will eat anyway. Yeah. But the reality is we're changing, and our way of life's changing.
Because we have to.
And I agree with Tommy. I think it's much more to the economical side.
All right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the supermarkets and Tesco's and Asda, necessarily they didn't have to bring the halal meats.
Yeah.
Why did they have to bring it? Because they know that the majority of population
profit.
is increased as a Muslim, so we're going to make money also.
Yeah.
Because there are so many halal shops, butchers out there, that a Muslim could just access them.
And
And,
it-
in
yeah,
fact,
yeah.
actually, to be honest with you, not only Muslim are accessing halal butchers, but even non-Muslim are accessing halal butchers.
And do Muslims have to eat halal? Do they have to eat halal?
Yes.
Because this is the same again. I met with a Salafist imam from Luton, and he said, "No, we don't. So we don't have to eat halal as long as we say a bismillah, a blessing,
Bismillah.
a blessing before it. We don't have to." But then the only reason why I looked in depth at the certification and a certain percentage of money where the certification goes, I looked across even what's happening with all the certification and how it has to be halal
I
certified.
thought they did have.
Because the chain supermarkets like Tesco's and Asda's, where do they get them from? Obviously, they do get them from big known warehouses, basically. Now,
Yeah.
what I've done, as Tom
Where the
said,
only people
research-
can be employed
yeah,
are Muslims.
basically,
The only
research
people.
I've done that the actually slaughterhouse, the warehouses are non-Muslims owned,
Yeah.
but they have a Muslim employed there to just sacrifice or do it in a halal way, basically. Now, again, I will say I'll put that down more to much more business, bringing business into their own chains and their own supermarkets rather than making it as a worldwide
It's
thing.
like if you go to Wembley, Twickenham Stadium, everywhere. It's halal.
Yeah, yeah.
All the schools in Luton, it's halal. But if you go into, I went to Westfield. You're from London, yeah? Westfield Shopping Centre. It's the first time I've ever been anywhere where when I walked in, they said halal and non-halal. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, it's everyone.
If we want to stop a bit to finish
All right,
up,
I'll just let you.
if we want to move away, I just want to move away very quickly from the halal issue. I think the UK does have to change in terms of its mentality. I think as people, we are very actually intolerant in a way of foreigners anyway, as people, not as a country, but as people. And I think, and I can show you as an example, when I go to university, if you're British, I'll talk to you. That seems to be sort of mentality that's propagated. But if you're a foreigner, here in Swansea, we have many Brazilians. Most of them we've never ever talked to a Brit before. And most of the people who have talked to them are from ethnic backgrounds who are used to talking to foreigners anyway. But indigenous British people, no. I think a lot of people are very actually quite intolerant of talking to other people just because they know, look, I've got my group of friends, I've got my social group. I don't need to talk to foreigners. So in that sense, I think we do need to have a more open mentality towards Islam. And I think following Boko Haram, following the Charlie Hebdo
You
shootings.
don't want to all go into that.
just-
We're trying to run that.
Basically, Islamic mosques have turned around and said, actually, we want to open up our mosques to the public. So I think there needs to be a bit of a two-way give, and I think people need to, as British people, we need to open up more towards Islam, and I think Islam needs to open up more towards us, and then we can learn and we can appreciate their culture more.
On that
That's
point, I
my-
just want to mention one thing, please,
Sorry,
Wally,
go
if you
on.
do. That Islam should be opening more to the people. Even before this, what happened, sorry, I'm going to
Yeah,
talk on that
no,
topic,
that's
what
all right.
happened in Paris. I've been planning this for 3 months. Do you know that Swansea Mosque has got Swansea Mosque Food Bank Initiative?
Yes.
That help non-Muslims also and Muslims also.
But no one
and
knows
this,
this.
And this actually happened even before the Paris attack happened. We've been planning since November. And since we've opened it, the only thing we've received is positive feedback and feedback from the outer community or non-Muslims out there that we never knew that the Muslim was so generous in this.
But you know what? The issue with that is, Imam, that no one knows about it. The public themselves, they don't know about it. And if the public are given opportunities to go and experience this, I mean, we sit around so much doing so many stupid things. We should be out there.
And I am the
learning
main
about other
organizer of
cultures
that food bank, actually.
That's great. That's very
and
generous
we
of
on
you.
Facebook, we on Twitter, we have given leaflets. We've been to the council, and the council have welcomed us. The shelters, the refugee centres. The police have. I've got a meeting tomorrow with the police in regards to this project. I got a meeting with the prison service with this project, basically. So everybody has welcomed us in a correct way. Say, we have given you so much. Now you're giving us so much back also. So why not? We at the end of the day, you are human. I'm a human. I cannot tolerate that I can eat 2 times. And my fellow Muslim or non-Muslim brother is not eating 2 times. I can't tolerate that. I cannot tolerate my child has got so much food and another child hasn't got any food. I can't tolerate that. It brings tears into my eyes. Regardless you are Muslim or non-Muslim, to me you are a human being. You've been created by God. I've been created by God. If you don't have an attachment for another fellow human, then that means you're not a human.
And I do believe you seem very passionate about that. And thank you very much for being so generous as well on behalf of everyone. Unfortunately, we're going to have to give, well, fortunately as well, we're going to have to give the audience some time to ask questions and not be selfish about our time. So does anyone have any questions they want to ask about the specific topic question we're discussing right now? And if it's pointed at a certain guest, you could just mention their name and ask them.
Do you think that the UK has changed too much in terms of tolerating Islam?
I think that, is that for me?
Yeah.
I think the UK is being pushed and pushed and pushed. And I think there's many great Muslims in this country, and I've met many great Muslims in my lifetime, in fact, because I've grown up with many Muslims in the town. But there's only so far people will be pushed. And when it turns, it's going to turn bad for everyone. And right now, we see terrorism offences going up 60% every year. We've seen 4 or 5 major attacks forward at the end of last year. We're just waiting now for another serious attack, and where people are going to be killed, maimed, and murdered. When that happens, the division's going to be sowed. That's what they want to do. Now, I think Muslims really need to take a hard look at what's going on with themselves, with their community. I know you've just said about the brilliant charity work you've been doing. Open My Mosque Day, I think it was 25% of mosques in the country agreed to do it. We've still got 75% that didn't. When it came to the grooming gangs, which we're specifically seeing is 90% of grooming convictions are Pakistani Muslim men, 90%, out of a population of 4%. Now, when it comes to the mosques relaying a message to their congregations about the grooming, again, only 25% of mosques agreed to do it. So we've still got 75% who didn't care about doing it, who didn't see it as their duty to try and protect these young girls where there's this massive epidemic of a problem. So I think there needs to be huge change. And I get worried and I get concerned by what the future's going to hold. And I've got 3 kids, and you may have kids as well, and I look at towns like Luton, I think when this really goes bad, which is, I can't see any other way it's going at present, because I don't think enough's being done. Yeah. Can I talk about Charlie Hebdo's attacks? Yeah. Blasphemy laws. I don't know where you, again, I hate to just keep asking you, because I don't know your views on these issues. Would you like to see blasphemy laws in this country that would prevent people from having an opinion on Muhammad? Or would you rather people had freedom of speech and democracy?
Freedom of speech and
democracy. Yeah, see, that's great, because what I saw was 30,000 Muslims. 30,000. That's a big number to come out on the street. Yeah? 30,000 Muslims marched through Birmingham demanding blasphemy laws. Now, when Charlie Hebdo's office and these people were slaughtered, no Muslims took to the streets who wanted to defend freedom of speech. In fact, what we saw was quite an animosity towards the people who have drawn these cartoons. And whether you like these cartoons or not, they're satire cartoons. They've took the mick out of the Pope, they've took the mick out. And what we've seen is that blasphemy, we're actually under blasphemy now, because not one newspaper reprinted that cartoon. So now people are fearful. And if Islam is peace, why is everyone so scared? Why is everyone so scared to just speak and say, call a spade on many certain issues? If there's an issue, we need to talk about it, we need to highlight it. And the last thing I want to see is the friction and the confrontation. But I don't see any other route that it's going to go unless we see huge change. And that huge change has to come from imams. It has to come from the mosque. It has to come from British Muslims. Yeah?
So I was going to ask, I mean, as a Muslim, sorry, I know we've got one guest.
Questions from the audience.
I don't know if I haven't answered the question, did I? I went off on one like I usually do.
So the world is changing with technology, with medicine and everything. And do you think that the UK and Islam, do you think that's maybe an adaptation and progressive and how we're adapting to halal and stuff like that? Or is it, because that's kind of how I view it, as being progressive and adapting to things that the world is changing and you can't,
moving forward.
And putting up a wall is just going to keep you back and you might not progress as far. Do you have a comment on that?
I don't see much that's positive that's coming from the Islamisation of the country. I don't see many positive things that are coming out of it. I think that where we're at now, I think the next week we'll be in a worse position. That's how I see it. I think we've got more extremists, more radicals, more problems. The reason why I say things like, I've made comments in the past where I say I don't want the building of any more mosques. Yeah? I don't say that in the sense of I don't want you practicing your religion. I say it in the sense that when we look at Islamist ideology of the punishment for apostates, my local mosque, this Christmas, my local mosque gave a 3-page statement on their website as to why an apostate should be murdered. Yeah? Now, this is 2015. If someone wants to leave Islam and join Christianity, yeah, Muslims in this country wanting freedom of religion, well, you have to too give freedom of religion to your followers and your families. But we don't see that, and that may not be your view, and it may not be many Muslims' view, but these views are coming out of mosques in this country. I left and I spent time with Quilliam, and we went through all this Islamist ideology of apostates, death for adultery, killing of homosexuals, exactly the same. My local imam, Kadir Bask, I sat on the radio with him and he said, in an ideal society, we would execute homosexuals. Now this is caveman mentality.
I think
personally... Can I just comment to that, please, Richard, if you don't mind? Tommy, I totally agree with you. Obviously, even though those points have been mentioned from a mosque side, from an imam side, if anybody over here is a Muslim and you come back to me tomorrow and say, I want to turn my religion, I want to go back, I want to go to Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism, what has that got to do with me?
See, that's very encouraging.
What has that got to do with me?
Yeah, it's got nothing.
Are you working for me?
No.
Are you worshipping me?
No.
Who are you worshipping?
But the way that...
Who are you worshipping? You're worshipping God.
Yeah. I think
the most logical answer that the imams or the authorities out there, the Muslim authority, should be given is, brother, is there any reason that you want to turn your religion? Is it something that I've done?
Absolutely.
I've done something wrong that you've gone against your religion.
But they justify it. Like this 3-page statement, you can all read it. It's on a call to Islam.
They
justify it through scripture.
My duty,
you know what,
Richard, my duty as an imam is to encourage the other person. If he doesn't, then that's up to him, because he's responsible to God and Allah, not to me.
True.
Not to me.
True, but then in all these Islamic countries, this is where we're getting these issues. It's like people keep talking about a British Islam. It's like 90% of the imams in this country don't speak English.
But Tommy,
Islam.
I really don't think it's an Islamic issue, and I don't.
Apostasy.
It's a much more
apostasy.
I'll tell you why.
Apostasy is an Islamic.
No, Tommy.
issue.
I'll tell you why.
Saudi Arabia will execute you for being apostate.
I'll tell you also why. I've traveled the world a lot, Tommy, and I've seen in many Islamic countries Muslim turning around from Islam and going to Christianity or Judaism.
What about in Saudi Arabia, where we have Sharia?
It's true, but that's a Saudi issue. That's
Saudi Arabia, they do have churches over there.
No, they don't. No.
Sorry,
they do.
guys, we're just getting off on another.
But in Saudi Arabia, if you leave Islam, it's punishable by death.
Probably it's a culture thing.
It's not a culture thing, it's Sharia law.
No. And I'll tell you why.
It's happening in
I'll tell you why.
Pakistan.
Tell me.
It's punishable by death in Pakistan.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Why Aisha Bibi's on death row for insulting
That's
Muhammad?
only one person.
But one person who's about to be killed for making a comment about
It's not
Muhammad.
happened to so many-
You've got the other Saif who's getting lashed now 1,000 times because he dared to write a blog and criticise Muhammad. Those laws are blasphemy laws, and they come from the Quran, the scripture that's in there, which tells them that you're not allowed to insult the Prophet Muhammad.
But if you can tell me one example in someone in Saudi Arabia that turned their religion and went against Islam and they've been put into death. Give me one example.
There's loads. There's loads.
I would say there probably are quite a few.
There's loads.
But honestly, I think it is very much.
The point is, we were talking about Saudi Arabia, but when I see mosques in Luton, saying exactly that from their website in my hometown, saying that people should be killed for exercising their freedom of religion.
Right. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But you know what, Tommy? I think
and
it's
these are the
very
reasons
much
why when we say about people are worried and people don't think it's well, these are why. This same mosque has a madrasa. It was part of the Trojan horse plot where they were teaching in the library, the school kids, they had books on chopping people's hands off.
Yeah, but Tommy, the problem is that people are coming from countries where these laws are present. And the present, and the point is that they bring that mentality with them, but it is not an Islamic issue. You have seen it in Christian countries. God, if you go back 100 years in this country, you would have seen that we were executing people. It's only recently we turned over Alan Turing's conviction for homosexuality.
Yep.
I think we would have put him to death, or we would have.
That's because we've evolved.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not an Islamic issue.
But it's the word of God. The word of Muhammad said that.
Would you like to ask a question to any of the members of the guests?
Do you think that different Muslims interpret the Quran differently? This is why it leads to...
Different Muslims, sorry, say that again.
Do you think Muslims interpret the Quran differently?
Yeah, I think obviously, unfortunately, what's happened, the original Quran has been revealed in Arabic. Now, the Arabic language is so pure that it's very difficult now for someone like me, even though I've studied Arabic for 5-6 years, to interpret the Quran the way it was interpreted at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Because those people, or the Prophet Muhammad, or the generation that were closer to him, they knew the language much better than me and you put together. If we look back, even the English language, to some extent, have changed so much in terms of translating, interpreting something, basically. And I've seen all these new translators, interpreters of the Quran. They have translated the Quran in many different ways, in which myself I've thought, oh, where did they get this from, basically? Now, unfortunately, going back to many centuries back, in which Islam was not spread in the four corners of the world, the translation only will take place in languages like Urdu, for example, or Persian language, because that was itself only Islam was in the Middle East. Now, because Islam has spread so much, there was a need of all the languages to be translated, but I don't think the authors or the translators have justified the Quran in translating in that correct way, basically. I don't think. And I've come across many translations of the Qurans that me, after learning 5 years of Arabic language, going to the extent, I've come, wow, where did they bring this from? Prime example, the word jihad.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
I don't know.
Struggle.
Struggle.
It's in the Bible also, struggle. Struggle for what? For your life. In which way? To attain God.
Yeah, that's your interpretation.
But that's the correct interpretation.
But then
That's the correct interpretation.
Al-Baghdadi would tell
it's in
you,
Bible also.
But
That word is in the Bible also.
But the problem
that
is,
word is in the Bible also.
The problem is, you have a whole state
That's
in
in the
Iraq
Bible
and Syria
also.
who will tell you you're misinterpreting it.
Nope.
Not me. There's many Muslims in this country
Because they
who
haven't
will tell you you're misinterpreting it.
Where does that come from?
I'll bring you the proof. If you open
But they all
the
bring me
book,
the proof.
If you bring you the book of Hadith,
That's the problem
if
you've
you
got.
bring the book of the
It's-
Quran, when God says وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا, which is in one of the chapters in the 20th chapter, basically 21st chapter, when God talks about struggling, what does He say? Struggle towards me to achieve me.
So okay, these 2,000 Muslims, that some of them have left this city here, right, to go and kill and behead people and massacre and rape and pillage across the Middle East. They think it means struggle?
I think they got it wrong. They got it translated wrong.
But why?
Because
There's
to
a
me,
big-
what
I'm saying is there's a whole state that's translated
If you're a
wrong.
true Muslim, what's your first aim? What's your first aim? If you're
To
a true
emulate the
Muslim?
Prophet Muhammad?
What's your first aim?
To emulate
your
the Prophet?
first aim is to be close to God. Your first aim is to be close to God. That's your first aim. Second, to follow the footsteps of Muhammad, peace be upon him. To get to God, you need to follow the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, amongst the main practice of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, what was the main practice? Pray 5 times daily, socialize within the people, stay within the community. If you go out there to Syria to blow yourself and you don't pray 5 times daily, are you a Muslim?
This is where the problem comes from, because
Are you a Muslim?
those men who have gone out there...
To me, I say to my Muslim brothers and sisters and the younger generation, I'll be more happy with you if you leave your blanket at 5 o'clock in the morning and come to pray. This is a struggle.
Right. Just to let
This is
our
the main
audience,
struggle.
just to let
Not to
our
blow
audience-
yourself
sorry.
out there. That's not a struggle.
Sorry, sir.
To me,
Imam
if you work on a Friday and it's a Friday prayer,
But that's your
and you
struggle,
leave your
Jarvis.
job
That's
and you
your
leave the
struggle.
university and come to pray, this is the struggle.
That's not those 40,000 people that are pillaging.
I'm
across
sure
the
the majority of the imams who have studied the Arabic grammar properly and the Quran properly in this country would agree with my statement that it means struggle to achieve God.
Hey guys, I really enjoyed watching your first episode and I'd like to ask you a few questions. Tell us more about your opinion.
I guess I'll start. But your opinion's basically an idea that I had in college. It was to bring different people from different ends of the stick together and provide members of the public with a vocal platform. And well, we have given you Islam in the UK. What we did was, well, Richard and I, and Sophie and Walu and everyone else in the team, and Samantha as well. I can't even remember everyone's names. We brought Tommy Robinson and Imam Javed, who you saw in the video earlier. Tommy Robinson, obviously the founder of the EDL, big guy. Imam Javed, someone on the opposite side, and Richard, it was in the middle. We just brought everyone together and we had this big debate, discussion, I should say. and it turned out great. Yeah, anything you want to add?
Not really, man. I think that's quite a good sort of take on it.
Yeah. We're just about providing a vocal platform for members of the public, basically. And
he's really animated about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm quite excited about it as well, because I think the prospect of being able to give people a platform that we would never have before. I mean, Tommy Robinson himself said the reason the English Defence League was created was because there was no platform like Your Opinion that existed at the time, and he said that this is the right kind of platform to have, and that creates something very different, because now we're able to harness the power of social media and be able to harness the power of conversation to really evoke positive and constructive discussion that will move society forward in a way that typical street demonstrations just weren't. For instance, if you're out in the street and you're hyped up and you're angry, the issue is that you're only going to get across anger, and it's only going to be portrayed in a very negative way. Now, if you look at something like the media, they'll try and pick that up in a very bad way, and you look at the fact that there'll be counter-protests, then really all you get is a bunch of screaming at each other. So what Your Opinion really is providing is a civilized platform where people enter into with equal respect and an understanding that when they delegate with other members of the public and with other members on stage, they have to show equal respect and make sure that it's not derisive in any way, but that it is constructive and that they are engaging in debate that is logical. Yeah. That's what Your Opinion is.
There you have it. We covered it, I think.
Well, what challenges did you face during your first show?
A lot.
There were quite a few.
Yeah.
There was quite a few. I think being two university students, we're not known to be the most punctual and the most orderly. And that meant...
Well, he isn't.
I'll tell you something, that's something... reason I'm actually, I don't know if you can tell, I'm very, very, very tired, because I'm now due to go to Canada in about a couple of hours. For 6 months that I hope will revolutionise the way that I actually approach situations. But ordering things and preparing for things, that was one thing that led to a lot of last minute decisions that we had to take very, very quickly. The other thing I would probably say is, both where we performed on stage, I felt like sometimes I would ramble on, and also the issue was, and other times I stay so quiet because we had such powerful people on stage that are such seasoned debaters that I think we realised we underestimated the fact that you have one guy who has come representing his mosque, not representing the mosque, sorry, representing the Islamic faith, and another guy representing a big organisation, but one of them has debated with the biggest names on TV, and so he's just learned to absolutely just keep talking without regard of what anyone else maybe has to say, because in that kind of industry you just have to, whereas someone like Imam Jabir maybe was a bit more sort of reserved, and then for me I was just sort of thrown back because you have two sort of... She was still a very, very, very sort of good debater, but I still felt like, oh my God, I don't get a chance to really speak, and that was something we need to iron out in future, and understand that people on stage might come from different backgrounds, and maybe they have to be prepped because their ability to debate might overshadow another one of the on-stage people. Yeah. I think I've rambled a lot there.
Let me cut it short a bit.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of the challenges we faced and everything, I think that was the question, right?
Yes.
So, well, putting the show on in the first place was like probably the biggest challenge ever, because, well, first of all, you're working with a lot of students who have different passions and different motives and different things they like to do, and that was probably our biggest challenge. Second of all was probably getting people to the event and everything, and trying to explain to certain individuals what the event really was about. Another one of our challenges was, well, technically I should say, production-wise, that was a very big challenge for us. And
we probably didn't put it in preparation. We probably didn't put in the right procedure to really deal with that.
Yeah.
So there was a huge sort of period of time where production almost ceased, and you know that can't happen.
Crazy.
That can't happen. So yeah, well, we're going forward. We're going to have a lot of different approaches.
But it's finally out now. Yeah. And we know the editing isn't perfect, but we tried. Trust me, it was really hard. Editing everything, and people who edit, man, I praise you, because you do a lot of work, and no one really understands how hard it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what is the next step from here?
I believe personally the next step is to really formalise how we approach, methodically, how we approach the whole production process. Because from start to finish, we need to know that this is going to happen at this time, this time, this time, this time. We've got the right guests lined up, and we've got it all. We're all ready to go. I think in terms of, and I don't think Wally will mind me saying this. I think as a presenter, and myself as well, because if I do ever appear in another episode, which probably won't happen for a while now, because again it's about giving the public a chance to speak, not giving the
his mouth.
Exactly. And as you see, I can talk a lot.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
we can both improve the way that we behave, the way we talk, the way we act on stage, to really convey a very clear and simple message that at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is open up people's voices and open up people's mouths so that they finally have the chance to talk. And at the same time, make it engaging enough to keep you guys watching and keep you guys fully engaged, I suppose, with us.
Yeah, also, well, to be honest, the next step from here right now is really you, because we need you to share it, promote it, and talk to your friends about it and everything. And well, we want to hear your opinions as well, so get in the comment section, tell us what you think about the questions, what your views are, and what you want to see next, what you'd like us to talk about next. We're not a political show, by the way, just telling you from now. We're not a political show, so
we want to hear your aspects, whether if you're looking, so for instance, Islam in the UK, whether it's political, from a political perspective, a religious perspective, an academic perspective. We want your sort of, or philosophical even perspective. We want your opinion. We want you to come up with seasoned and competent arguments against or for what has been discussed in the show.
Yeah,
and
tell
also
them about
engage
the
in
blogs as well.
Oh right, our blogs is basically a written platform, so it's the I suppose sister or sibling part in terms of the sibling to the show, and what it is, it's an online platform that allows people from writers of varying different backgrounds, and they can contribute weekly, monthly, it can be guests, they can talk about this topic, or this topic, whatever they want. As long as it's a logical argument, it is a platform for you to have a central area that you can launch your views on. And hopefully if you get a big following, and people start to like you, and people start to really read into what you're saying, it starts to build your profile up as well. And the great thing is we're going to have subsections. So for instance, if under the feminism subsection, we'll have anti-feminists and feminists debating against each other, or just being able to put up articles on the same section.
We'll give you somewhere to argue, basically. All I want to ask from you right now is literally to subscribe to us and help us promote this. Well, also input your comments and spread love to us on Twitter. What's our Twitter thing? Sorry,
it's currently
created the Twitter.
It's currently at Society's Soapbox. That is Society with YS.
We
Society.
probably put it in the link.
Or you can see it just down there. But yeah, Society Soapbox, and give us a follow. That is likely to change again, so it's more easily accessible, and we are working on that. And hopefully we'll have good news on that front in the near future.
Alright, thank you, and